Dating today looks very different than it did even a decade ago. With just a swipe, you can meet someone new. A tap, and you're in a conversation. But let's pause and ask, what is this doing to us? Are we really dating? Or are we just endlessly scrolling through people like profiles on a shopping app? Think about it. When we apply for jobs, we're intentional, we polish our resume, highlight our strengths, and actively prepare for interviews. We follow up, we treat it seriously because it matters to our future. Yet, when it comes to dating, something that shapes our happiness, our families, and even our health, we often leave it to chance, half-hearted swipes, and ghosted conversations. Isn't it time we started dating like it's our job? Dating apps give us options, but too many options can be overwhelming. Studies show that the more choices we have, the less satisfied we feel with the one we pick. This constant exposure can make us treat people as disposable, like if one doesn't work out, another is just a swipe away. But real connection doesn't grow from endless novelty. It grows from time, attention, and effort. Dating apps also impact how we view ourselves. The dopamine rush of a match feels good, but it can create dependency. Suddenly, we measure our worth by how many likes or matches we get. That's not dating, that's validation seeking. And it leaves us emptier over time. So how do we shift this? By treating dating with purpose. Like a job, you set goals. Be clear about what you're looking for, whether it's fun companionship or a long-term partner. Put effort into your profile the way you'd polish a resume honest, but highlighting your best self. Communicate clearly, show up with consistency, and don't ghost, because you wouldn't walk out of a job interview without explanation. Most importantly, remember that dating apps are just a tool. They can connect you with someone incredible, but they can't do the real work for you. The job is building trust, intimacy, and shared values. That starts with intentionality. So the next time you log on, don't just swipe mindlessly. Treat dating like it's your job, because the right partnership can change your entire life, and that's worth showing up for fully. In today's digital world, dating apps have completely transformed the way we meet, connect, and even define relationships. At first glance, these platforms seem like a gift, an endless marketplace of possibilities right at your fingertips. But here's the reality: while dating apps provide options, they also create an illusion of unlimited choice, and that illusion deeply affects how we view relationships and even how we value ourselves. Think about walking into a grocery store with 200 different brands of cereal. At first, it feels exciting, you have options, you can find exactly what you want. But very quickly, it becomes overwhelming. The more options you have, the harder it is to choose, and the less satisfied you are with the choice you eventually make. Dating apps work in exactly the same way. When we scroll through profile after profile, it feels like we have a limitless pool of potential partners. That illusion makes it easy to believe that there's always something or someone better just one swipe away. This constant mindset of comparison changes how we approach people. Instead of seeing each match as a whole, complex individual, we reduce them to a profile picture, a witty one-liner, or a list of hobbies. We stop asking, could I build something real with this person? And instead start asking, could there be someone else who's a little taller, funnier, more attractive, or has a cooler job? The danger here is that it trains our minds to treat people as disposable. If one date doesn't go perfectly, we don't invest the effort to see where it could lead. We simply go back to the app. It's like living with a safety net that encourages us not to commit, because the illusion of infinite choice makes us believe commitment is unnecessary. But relationships don't grow from perfection on day one. They grow from patience, effort, and seeing someone beyond their surface. And it's not just how we view others. Dating apps change how we see ourselves too. Every time you swipe and get a match, your brain releases a little hit of dopamine, the same chemical that drives addictive behaviors. That match feels good, almost like a micro-validation of your worth. Over time, many people begin to equate their self-esteem with how many matches, likes, or messages they get. If the notifications are quiet for a day, they feel less attractive, less desirable, or even unworthy. This cycle is toxic because it shifts the focus away from genuine connection and onto performance. Instead of asking, am I showing up authentically? We begin asking, what can I put in my profile to get more attention? And the sad truth is that chasing validation often leads us to misrepresent ourselves or to present a version of who we think people want rather than who we truly are. Another way this illusion of choice impacts us is by creating unrealistic expectations for relationships. With so many options in front of us, we start to believe that somewhere out there exists a perfect partner who checks every single box, someone who never annoys us, never disagrees with us, and meets every need effortlessly. But real human relationships aren't like that. Every partnership requires compromise, growth, and acceptance of imperfection. When apps make it look like there's always a better option waiting, we rob ourselves of the chance to cultivate depth with someone who could actually be a meaningful partner. This mindset even impacts commitment. Studies have shown that people who use dating apps frequently are more likely to delay settling down, not necessarily because they don't want love, but because the illusion of choice creates fear of missing out. What if, by committing to one person, they miss out on someone better? That fear keeps them in a loop of endless searching instead of building something real. So, what's the takeaway? Dating apps are not inherently bad. They're tools. They can help you meet people you would never encounter otherwise. But it's critical to recognize the illusions they create. When you understand that having hundreds of options doesn't actually make finding love easier, you can start to approach dating with a healthier mindset. You can remind yourself that meaningful connections are built, not discovered in a swipe. You can see matches as opportunities to learn and grow rather than fleeting dopamine hits. And perhaps most importantly, you can protect your self-worth from being tied to an app. Your value is not defined by likes or swipes. It's defined by how you show up, how you connect, and how you build relationships in the real world. In the end, the illusion of choice is powerful, but it's just that, an illusion. The more we recognize it, the more freedom we gain to use dating apps intentionally, instead of letting them shape our views of love, relationships, and ourselves. When you think about the way most people approach dating today, it often feels casual, unstructured, and even careless. Many swipe when they're bored, text when it's convenient, and ghost when they lose interest. But imagine for a moment if we treated dating the way we treat our careers, with purpose, preparation, and dedication. What difference would that make? The truth is, approaching dating with intention as if it were a job doesn't just make the process more effective, it leads to deeper, healthier, and more fulfilling connections. Let's start with this comparison when applying for a job. You don't show up unprepared. You craft a resume, highlight your skills, and think carefully about how to present yourself. You're clear about your goals, what kind of company you want to work for, what role you're seeking, and what career path you want to build. Dating should be no different. Too many people walk into it without clarity. They don't know what they're really looking for. Whether it's casual fun, companionship, or a lifelong partner, this lack of direction creates confusion, disappointment, and wasted energy. Treating dating like a job begins with setting clear intentions. Ask yourself, what am I looking for right now? There's no wrong answer. It might be short-term connection or it might be marriage. But knowing your goal helps you align your actions with it. If you're seeking a serious relationship, then swiping endlessly without reading bios or investing in conversations isn't going to help. Just as you wouldn't apply randomly to jobs that don't fit your career goals, you shouldn't engage in connections that clearly don't align with your values or desires. The second step is preparation. Just as you prepare your resume for job applications, your dating profile should be intentional. That doesn't mean creating a fake version of yourself. It means presenting the best and truest version. Be honest, but also highlight qualities that matter. If you value family, mention it. If you love adventure, let that shine. A well-thought-out profile communicates seriousness and attracts people who share your mindset. In dating as in work, effort shows. Once you land a job interview, you don't cancel last minute, show up late, or ghost the recruiter. Yet many people do exactly this in dating. Why? Because they don't take it seriously. When you treat dating with the same respect as professional commitments, you naturally start honoring people's time, showing up prepared, and engaging with genuine curiosity. That level of respect sets you apart immediately, and it builds trust. Another element of treating dating like a job is consistency. Imagine if you only showed up to work when you felt like it, or put in effort only half the time, you wouldn't last long. Yet, with dating, people often expect results with minimal investment. They go on one date, get discouraged, and quit for months. Or they send one message, don't get a reply, and stop trying. Building relationships requires consistent effort, just like building a career does. It means showing up even when it feels challenging and being willing to learn from setbacks. But there's something else jobs teach us that dating often overlooks. Feedback. In your career, feedback helps you grow. You learn from mistakes, refine your skills, and improve your approach. In dating, the same principle applies. If a pattern keeps repeating, maybe conversations fizzle or first dates rarely lead to second ones. It's worth asking, what can I learn here? Instead of blaming apps or assuming everyone else is the problem, intentional dating means looking inward and making adjustments. Now, let's talk about follow-up. In the job world, following up after an interview shows interest and professionalism. In dating, it's similar. A thoughtful message after a date shows that you value the interaction and are invested in exploring the connection further. Too often, People play games, waiting days to reply, or holding back to avoid seeming too eager. But when you treat dating like a job, you replace games with honesty. You communicate clearly because you know what you're seeking and you want to avoid wasting time. Finally, the biggest benefit of intentional dating is that it creates depth. When you treat dating seriously, you naturally filter out people who aren't aligned with your values. You stop chasing surface level validation and instead invest in relationships that actually matter. This approach doesn't mean stripping away fun or spontaneity. It means creating a foundation where fun can thrive because both people are clear about where they stand. Think of it this way: a job shapes your financial future, but a relationship shapes your emotional and personal future. The person you choose as a partner impacts your happiness, health, and even longevity. Isn't that worth as much effort, if not more, than building a career? Dating apps can be distracting, and the culture around them often encourages casualness, but if you approach them with focus and intentionality, you separate yourself from the noise. You're no longer just another profile swiping in the dark. You're a person with clarity, purpose, and self-respect. So start dating like it's your job, not because love should be mechanical, but because seriousness and intention open the door to the kind of connections that change your life. In conversations about dating apps, people often fall into one of two extremes. Either they see them as the magic solution to finding love, or they dismiss them entirely as shallow, addictive, and toxic. But the truth lies somewhere in between. Dating apps are tools. Nothing more, nothing less. Like any tool, their value depends on how you use them. And while they can introduce you to people you might never meet otherwise, the real success of a relationship still depends on the same timeless ingredients it always has: effort, communication, and shared values. Think about a hammer. In the right hands, it can build a home. In the wrong hands, it can do damage. The hammer itself isn't to blame, it's how it's used. Dating apps work in the same way. They give you access, convenience, and exposure, but they cannot do the deeper work of building trust, resolving conflict, or nurturing intimacy. If you expect the app alone to deliver you a ready-made relationship, you'll almost certainly be disappointed. Let's start with effort. Swiping and matching might feel like dating, but it's not the same thing. Matches are just the starting line, not the finish line. Too often, people think that once they get a match, the hardest part is over, but in reality, the effort is only beginning. Making time for conversations, asking thoughtful questions, and showing genuine interest requires energy. Just as you wouldn't expect a garden to bloom without watering it, you can't expect a relationship to grow without putting in consistent effort. The app can plant the seed, but you must nurture it. Then there's communication, the lifeblood of any relationship. Apps can sometimes encourage shallow surface-level exchanges. A quick "heh" or a string of emojis might get someone's attention, but it doesn't build connection. To form something real, you need honesty, vulnerability, and clarity. That means saying what you're looking for, expressing your feelings, and respecting the other person's perspective. It also means handling rejection or differences with maturity rather than disappearing when things don't go your way. Ghosting, for example, is like walking away from a conversation mid-sentence. It erodes trust and leaves both people frustrated. Effective communication, on the other hand, builds understanding and lays the foundation for intimacy. But perhaps the most important ingredient is shared values. Apps show us photos, hobbies, and clever bios, but those are surface-level details. Long-term compatibility comes down to deeper alignment, how you both view family, career, money, spirituality, or even lifestyle choices. You may have incredible chemistry with someone you meet on an app, but if your core values don't align, the relationship will face constant tension. This is why intentional dating matters so much. Asking the right questions early on helps you avoid wasting time with people who don't share your foundation. It's also important to recognize that apps can amplify distraction. Because it's easy to swipe endlessly, some people never give one connection the chance to fully develop. They're always chasing the next match, the next better option. But if you treat apps as tools instead of entertainment, you can flip that dynamic. Instead of endlessly browsing, you focus on building depth with the people who matter. That requires discipline, choosing not to get lost in the scroll and instead investing in meaningful interactions. Real success in relationships has never changed, regardless of technology. Decades before apps, couples built strong bonds through effort, communication, and alignment in values. Apps simply accelerate the introductions. They don't rewrite the rules of love. The challenge is remembering this in a culture that often confuses convenience with connection. Just because you can meet dozens of people in a week doesn't mean you'll automatically form something lasting. What determines that is still your ability to show up authentically, put in effort, and seek compatibility at the deepest levels. And here's a powerful truth: when you approach apps as tools and yourself as the driver, You take back control. Instead of feeling like a victim of endless swipes, you become intentional about who you match with, how you communicate, and what direction you want the relationship to take. You stop letting the app dictate your worth or your future, and you start using it as one avenue among many to create genuine human connection. So the next time you log in, remind yourself the app can help you meet someone, but it can't make you listen with empathy. It can't teach you to compromise, and it can't align your values. That's your job. When you put in the effort, communicate openly, and choose partners who share your values, you turn a simple digital tool into a bridge towards something extraordinary. Dating apps are only the beginning of the story. The real magic happens when two people decide to invest in each other offline in the real world. That's where love grows, not on the screen, but in the effort, conversations, and values you share.